guarantee you there's a book from CPH on the topic of symbolism that would be helpful. Yeah, for your own personal study. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do a public study as well, but there are resources out there, so it's a good idea. Something we could actually tackle in this venue, perhaps as well. When you look at a stole, does anything come to your mind in terms of what it kind of looks like? It's actually supposed to represent something based on the way it looks, and think about it, it's placed over the shoulders.
A yoke?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, a yoke. A yoke of burden. It's placed over a pastor's shoulders right at the moment of his ordination. At that point, he's been set apart by the calling congregation. I should say in the midst of the calling congregation by God. And that's why I feel that in an ideal world, a pastor should be ordained in the congregation that's called him to serve. Because those are the people who called him. Those are the people he's going to be serving. And so I chose to be ordained here for that very reason. Yeah, so it is a yoke. It is a burden placed upon him from that point on. He's God's called man to do certain things, certain tasks. Not to pull the plow like an ox would have a yoke placed upon him, but to preach the gospel and to minister the sacraments just the way Christ gave them. That's the yoke. Vestments are a pastor's uniform, just like the ones worn by others in different vocations. Which just makes me laugh. Imagine someone saying, there's this really cool hospital down the street where the nurses don't dress like nurses, and the doctors wear shorts and a t-shirt.
That's all right. I got upset when nurses stopped wearing these little hats.
Yeah. But the point is, they still dress in a way that they're recognizable, even if they have lost the hats, even if we have lost the black robes. If nurses started to wear t-shirts and shorts, you wouldn't know if they were the granddaughter of your sweet mate or the one who's there to care for you. And likewise, especially for outsiders, there could be confusion as to who this guy in the polo shirt up in front of church is. Is he a pastor? Has he been trained at all? Or is he someone that the congregation has decided to have speak for the day? What's going on? And so the next question is related to this. What comfort is there in having anyone, especially a pastor, dressing in a recognizable way? Yeah, there's an objectiveness to it. I know that this person has been trained, certified, called, given the job, whatever you want to say, to serve me in a certain capacity. Each of us as pastors are required to go through a certain amount of rigor in preparation for this. And it's got to be comforting, I would think. It was to me as a layperson, to know that this person didn't take one online course and is suddenly charged with my spiritual care. There's some meat behind what his training is. This will be a good thing for me in the long run. Hope I'm not being too crass tonight. Hello, Internet. If any vocation should de-emphasize the person holding the office, it should be the pastoral vocation. And that is so not the trend in Christianity. But why is that statement true? That if any person in any job should be lowered, it should be the pastor. Why? Yeah. Yeah. We do nothing of our own, at least we're not supposed to. But everything we say and do should be what's given to us by our Lord to say and to do. There's probably no other vocation that is so tied in to a particular way of doing things as a pastor's job. Right? Even the best medical books weren't written by God. Even the best business books weren't written by God. There's some flexibility there, perhaps, with how you do things. But when Christ gives you something to do, you do it. He's the one at work behind it. But today in the church, and I'm not saying that certain personalities are more likable than others. Of course that's true. That there are different personalities within vocations. But today it seems to me like our church is going to die unless we get just the right kind of pastor. You know, if that's truly the thought out there, that's not good. Christ keeps his church alive, not through a person's personality, not even through their gifts, but through the gifts he gives through that person. That's
Wasn't
important.
the people that hop from church to church because, well, this pastor, then they'll go to another church and to another church. And it doesn't even have to be the same denomination. I mean, it can be from a Methodist to a Lutheran to Baptist or to
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
We had a neighbor who doesn't even live in Midland, Michigan, that when we talked about church, they said, oh yeah, we went to St. John's for a while, and then we went over to this church. And now we're at this church. And, you know, they must have cited 4 or 5 churches that they went to. Not any particular reason why they left the church, but
yeah,
But there again, we, I think, as members, have a role to play too in not just what the pastor is like, or whether he combs his hair one way, or is bald, or is grooved up, or whatever, but, you know, it's not just the pastor. There's a lot of things that the average member has to do to welcome people in the church. It isn't just the clothing on the pastor. There's other things that play a big role in bringing people in and keeping people here.
yeah. You know, what's especially disturbing is when someone will actually compromise their confession of faith for the sake of the pastor of the church. Now let's say you grow tired of your dull pastor and you're a Lutheran, but the E-Free Church has a really exciting pastor, and you're like, whoa, you know, I really like his sermons, he's very likable, so I'm going to become part of the E-Free Church. Well, wait a minute. Do you realize what you have thrown out in terms of your confession by jumping from one church to the other only for the sake of the man? You know, it's incredible how human focused we can be sometimes in our search for what is best for us.
I thought about that a little bit when we were in the call process for Pastor Kempen. And as I was marking my little ballot the one time, I was thinking to myself, what good is this? Because ultimately, it's not me that's deciding who's going to be here or not. So it was kind of funny. It was like, if we truly believe it's God that's going to place that pastor here, which I do, I believe that God brought both of you here. But it was kind of funny as you're sitting here voting, I'm thinking, what good is this?
Yeah,
vote?
God works through democracy, apparently, yes.
Apparently.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's open up our scriptures if you have them with you. To John chapter 3. And you might say, well, where does all this talk about vestments come from? You're not going to see Jesus saying, Pastor Schuer stole an alb in John 3. But you are going to see something that John the Baptist says that is very influential in the whole theology behind, in the whole theology behind wearing vestments. Could someone please read all those verses there, 22 through 36?
After this, Jesus and the disciples went out into Judea countryside, where they spent some time with them and baptized. Now John also baptized at Aenon near Salim, because there was plenty of water and people were constantly coming to be baptized. This was where, before John was put in prison, an argument developed between some of John's disciples and a certain Jew over the matter of ceremonial washing. They came to John and they said to him, Rabbi,